Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's been a while. Anyways, let's talk about the newest DLC that came out for the hit game Elden Ring. So, as the thumbnail would suggest, this is my honest review. So, I will be critiquing everything that I saw wrong with the game, as well as everything that I really enjoyed about the game. So my goal is this is a 10-minute video. Anyways, I'm gonna start out with the rating right now, so you guys get angry with the rating. You think it's gonna be either too high or too low, and I can have some viewer retention because you're like, "Oh, I'm gonna comment on this guy's video because he doesn't like my favorite game," or something like that. So, anyways, let's get started. I believe Elden Ring DLC was 6.7 out of 10. So like I guess 6.5, 6.6, 6.7, I'd say more accurately. So 6.7 out of 10 or 67 out of 100. That is my rating. Now, whoa, why that rating, man? What's your rating on Elden Ring? In my opinion, Elden Ring is like a 9.8. It is super duper fun, but I just couldn't enjoy it. I couldn't enjoy the DLC as much as I enjoyed Elden Ring, the base game. Anyways, let's go into it. Why do I think it's a 6.7? Hold on. Alright, let's talk about why it was enjoyable. So, why it was enjoyable? Well, first of all, let's talk about the map. The map is so big. They're so big. This is a really large map. So, like, by far the largest expansion in like any DLC ever that I can really think of off the top of my head. So yeah, like this is the largest DLC that I've ever played anyways. With like the map is like if you combined the size of Caelid, Limgrave, the Weeping Peninsula, and a little teeny tiny bit of Liurnia, and that's how big the DLC expansion was in my opinion in terms of size. And that's not all. It's so beautiful, right? Everywhere you go, you're like, whoa, that's so cool. That looks amazing. Whoa, this looks amazing too. Oh my god, the left looks beautiful. The right looks beautiful. What if I look behind me? Oh my god, it's pretty as well. Everywhere is beautiful. There is no place in the DLC that you go, oh, that looks kind of weird. Like in a sad tone. You're like, oh, that looks kind of weird. I'm digging it. Right? That's how you think. So that's the first good point, and in my opinion, it's amazing. It's an amazing point. Anyways, let's get on to the next topic about. Yeah, there's not much to talk about for like map. It's big. It's beautiful. We'll get into more stuff about the map later because that will be a separate part of the review. But let's talk about another thing I like about the game. I liked that there were more weapons. Obviously, I think anyone would enjoy the fact that there's more weapons. Yeah, there's so much weapons, and they're also cool, especially Dane's footwork and stuff like that. Like the martial arts, you only get the Dryleaf Dane's martial arts if I'm not wrong, and like he's the only one that does martial arts is what I'm trying to say. Anyways, with that being said, it's still very cool to have a martial arts, especially since every Elden Ring modder is like, oh, we need to have martial arts in this game, and Elden Ring from Software delivered. They said, I see you, I hear you. How about this? And then they gave you one. It's pretty cool in my opinion. So yeah, they added a lot of weapons, very cool, very unique weapons, especially like the duelist shield, so you can have like battling shields now as well. Very cool. Uh, yeah, I think that's it for like weapons for now. Let's see. Uh, some of the bosses were fun, in my opinion. Some of them were really cool, and I enjoyed fighting some of them. Others, not so much. Uh, people, I hear people going like, this game is too hard." No, it's really not. And I'm gonna explain why I think people think it's hard and why I think people think it's. I'm just gonna explain why people think it's hard, and to a certain degree, I agree, but also I think they're thinking of it the wrong way, right? Because there's a very good YouTuber, streamer. He's a streamer, anyways. His name is Pirate Software, and essentially he says something in one of his shorts. He says something along the lines of like, a person that's playing a game will always find out where a game is bad, but they'll never be able to like actually say why it's bad. And I think that's what's happening right now. They know something about it is wrong, right? Something about the DLC just doesn't feel right, but they just can't place their finger on it, you know? So they just like default to it being like, "Oh, it's hard." Because that's like the usual complaint. So they just go, that works, you know, it's too hard." And I think that's not entirely accurate. Anyways, let me go into why it's bad and why it's a lower rating than 8 or 9 or 10. First off, the map is big, right? I know I said why that was a good point, but the problem was the map is so big, but you do like one or two things in like a lot of the maps and a lot of the areas that like it really doesn't matter that it was that big in the first place. Like they could have cut the size down by half and still had the same amount of content. Like 90, not 90. Like for example, Jagged Peaks looks so big. You follow one route. You go one direction there. You follow along one direction. That's it. It's not that like it's not that great in my opinion that like it takes up like I'd say a good portion of the map, maybe like 15-20% of the map, and you follow along one path, do one thing, or actually I guess like more like two things, I don't know. You kill you kill the main boss there, who is a remembrance boss, and you're essentially done for that entire area. Not that fun. Or I mean it is fun, but like it's like it's just like, oh, really? That's it? I went all the way here to this big old place in the world. Looks so huge, and there's nothing. And they're like, "Yep." And they're like, "Oh, okay. Um, so that kind of sucks." They're like, "No, but you got to fight the boss." And it's like, "Oh, I mean that's cool and all, but like that's it." I was expecting like more, and then they don't really give you more. But like again, this is a DLC, so like I'm not expecting them to be like Elden Ring levels of everything, but you could have made the map smaller if you were just gonna like put one or two things in an area. I don't know, it's just my opinion, but Jagged Peaks was took up so much of the map for only like one thing. Another thing is the ruins, right? The finger ruins did not have to be that big. Legitimately, they were they were their entire existence was, oh, you got the crimson seed and the cerulean seed, and then you get to fight a boss for a quest, and that's it. Nothing else. And in my personal opinion, it's kind of lackluster. And by lackluster, I mean really lackluster. There's like, it's like, really? That's it? All right, okay, I guess that's cool. in my opinion, it just like the map was so big that it gave you the thought that there was so much, but it kind of didn't have a lot. Like obviously there are some places that have a lot. Like for example, the Rao ruins. Rao, I don't know how to pronounce it. Rao ruins. That place is brimming with content. But the main, like the starting area, I forgot what it's called. Like, doesn't really have anything, you know. Like the starting area, there's there's not really anything. There's not even like a boss. There's nothing. I mean, I guess you could call the Black Jail Knight a boss, but like that's like barely one, you know. So that's my problem, anyways. It really just it had such a big map, made you think, oh, this is gonna be huge, and then like it just wasn't as huge as you thought it was. Oh, this is a bit longer than 10 minutes. Oh, this is gonna be like a 20 minute. Oh, whoops, sorry guys. Anyways, so again, that's a complaint. I think the map was too huge for the content it had inside of it. But that's not a big complaint, right? That's not a big complaint. Also, along with the fact that it's huge, it got really confusing on how to actually get to certain places. Like to get to Cerulean Coast, Jagged Peaks, and Chara's Hidden Grave, you go the same path, diverge slightly, and you're in a completely different area. And honestly, bit confusing. I wish there was a I wish it was a bit easier to get to these places. Yeah. Uh let's see. Oh, this is like the second biggest offense in my opinion is that a lot of the bosses felt like they were gimmick bosses or not gimmick bosses, but they had it felt like the developers just went, "Oh my god, last game had super unique, diverse character bosses that were fun to fight. We need to make it more unique. We need to make it more diverse." So they just gave them a bunch of shit, but then like they forgot to make it like uniquely fun. In my opinion, it was like, oh, cool. The gimmick is I can't interrupt them and then they just kill me. Cause okay, but let's I'm going a strength build, great sword, the guts build. I'm going great sword, lion's claw. The that's the gameplay I've been doing my entire existence of Elden Ring. So obviously I'm gonna continue doing that because it's what I find as fun. Anyways, for example, I can't interrupt any of the bosses, and it doesn't feel like I'm hitting them. It just like you know in the base game when you hit a boss, it really felt like you hit them. Like it felt like, oh, that was a big meaty hit. But in this DLC, it's just like you hit them with your lion's claw, your heavy jump attack, your heavy attack, and it's just like you just hit them. They don't move. You look up and they're like staring at you like you're gonna die immediately, and then you do die immediately. And it's just like, oh, okay, well that's kind of fun, except it's not. And I think like a lot of the gimmicks are just like, haha, fuck you. That's it. It's literally just go fuck yourself, you piece of dog shit, and that's it. It's not. I I didn't really find enjoyment in a lot of the bosses because it just felt like they had a weird gimmick of just not caring about interruptions. Like they just couldn't be interrupted. Like none of the enemies just felt like they could be interrupted apart from like being able to stagger them. But it also felt like they had such high poise. But I think that's just like my weapon, but that's also stupid, but that's base Elden Ring. Anyways, so yeah, I didn't like a lot of the bosses because it just felt like they could just ignore my existence whilst killing me, which wasn't exactly fun, you know? Like imagine like any game, right? Like let's say I don't know, let's say Minecraft right now. You hit when you hit someone in Minecraft, they receive knockback, right? And so like they can't hit you, right? It's like if you're fighting someone with 1.8 combat system and you're 1.12 combat system. So like you have to wait for every auto, but they just go and kill you. It's not that fun, fighting that. And that's like what it felt like. Like or in Street Fighter, like when you hit someone, they get hit stunned. But what if they just didn't? And they just said, "Oh, you hit me? I don't care. You did damage to me, but I'm gonna full combo you now." That's just what it felt like. The entire game. It just felt like, "Oh, I got full comboed because I hit them with an attack and they ignored it, and I didn't find that enjoyable." Anyways, let's talk about this is not a big offense to me, but it is something that I find to be a bit sad is that it really felt like a lot of the great sword weapons, or a lot of like the sword weapons that weren't bleed or dex, like strength sword weapons, kind of sucked, right? Like I didn't find at all a point where I'm like, oh, this weapon seems to be better than just great sword lion claw combo. Like I don't think there was any weapon, any like strength weapon that made me go like, oh, now this is better. No, it just felt like, oh, okay, that's cool. I mean, a tool for the collection, I guess. That's what it felt like. It just felt like, oh, we got a collection going on, and that was it. And yeah, it felt like the DLC was like, oh, you're a strength build. You want to change that, or we're gonna fucking murder you. And then like it looked to the other side and like looked at the dex. It was like, oh, you precious baby, have some more dex weapons that are top tier. And it's like, oh, what about a strength user? Like, oh, you get this sword. It's like, but it's worse than every other weapon in the base game. It's like, be grateful for what you get, you bitch. It's like, oh, okay, I guess I will. Like, it really felt like strength weapons didn't get as much as dex weapons. Like, for example, all of the great katanas, those are primarily dex. A lot of the weapons in general were just like a lot of dex. Like Mesmer's spear and stuff like that. It just felt like Dex plus something else, or just Dex in general. Anyways, that's not that big for me because I don't really care as much. It is a bit sad because obviously there's going to be people that want to play other things, but yeah, for me it wasn't as big as of a defense because I just do Great Sword Lion's Claw combo. Anyways, let's talk about the next problem I have with Elden Ring DLC Shadow of the Erdtree. The fucking Scadutree fragments are so stupid. I think they are the worst decision in that entire DLC, in my personal opinion. Right? I think it's the dumbest thing ever. So remember when I was talking like how people were like they don't actually know they don't actually know what exactly was wrong, so they just defaulted it to saying it was hard. I think Scadutree fragments are the problem. Right? Now, they're not hard to get, right? I think everyone can agree with the idea. They're not hard to get. You just go to a place, grab it off the ground, and you got a Scadutree fragment. The problem was that it is tedious. And a lot of times, you actually have to go out of your way to find them or get them, right? Which just felt so shitty because, oh boy, here come, oh boy, I get one shot unless I get five skibbly doops. So fun. That's not cool. That's not horrible at all. That's so fun. I love getting one shot unless I collect 7 skibbly bops, some scoobity boobies, some scrumples, right? Like again, it's not hard. It's tedious and annoying, and a lot of the times you don't know where they are, right? If you're playing the game for the first time, you don't know where the skibbly scrobbly doos are. So I had to go out of my way, go to Google, search it up, go like, how do I find Erdtree fragments? And then I would get a list of them. And I say, okay, I got that one, check. Got this one, check. Got that one, check. This one, yep, check. This one, check. Uh huh, check. And the problem was, it'd be fine if there was some sort of like engaging way to get them, but no, it was just you pick them off the ground. You kill a hippopotamus. You kill a pot guy. That was it. That's not engaging. Like the engaging parts is probably the hippos, right? Because at least they fight you, right? There's a little bit of engagement. Every other fucking fragment, you just go, well, got the skibbly bops. That's fun. And if you wanted to actually beat the final boss, by the way, spoilers, guys, spoilers. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Anyways, if you wanted to beat Radon and actually have a fair chance at beating him, you want at least like 17 scatter tree fragments. And even then, he's gonna two-shot you. Or three-shot. Or if you're really thinking, you're four-shot. But like, it doesn't matter. He just doesn't care. Like, the scatter tree fragments are just so tedious, and I think is so poorly designed that it drops the game so badly that like if someone were to offer me to play that game again, I'd say no. Like if I were given the choice to play that game again, I would say no because I don't want to have to get scatter tree fragments again. Like do I want to fight the bosses again? Do I want to fight? Do I want to play Shadowed Erdtree? 100%. It's such a good game until I remember, oh, I have to re-get all those Scatter Tree fragments. I don't want to do that. That's literally the only reason I'm not replaying that fucking DLC. It's such a good DLC. If it weren't for the Scatter Tree fragments, it'd be a 10. But the Scatter Tree fragments dip it down so far that I can't have fun playing the game. Like a lot of the bosses, that's the reason why they're not fun. It's like I have to get Scatter Tree fragments, or I get one shot by every single attack. And I'm not out here to learn their entire combo and be like, oh, I can dodge this one if I dodge left, do a slight walk right, dodge forward, backstep, and then do a taunt or something. Like, I don't care enough to learn the exact dodges. I just want to dodge above half and I'm happy, right? That's why I have healing flasks for. And that's the main thing. That's what I disliked about the game was skeleton fragments were a necessity, or else you just get one shot, and that's not fun to me because it just didn't feel fair or fun to fight, right? Like even the hardest boss in Elden Ring, like base game, Melania, she felt fair because I did a lot of damage to her and she did a lot of damage to me. It's not I did dick to her and she killed me instantly. Like even her waterfowl, I'm like, oh, that's a bit fucked up, but I'm alright with it. Like it still hurts, right? It hurts like a motherfucker, but it doesn't one shot me on the first swing. Like if I stood still, it killed me, right? Obviously. But if I dodged properly, even a little bit, I live and get to see the next day. And that is what's fun. I like being able to live an attack. Anyways, so you guys are probably gonna be like, oh, well, if that's not good enough for you, what would be, huh? Like, first of all, I'm not a video game developer, right? I can't say like, oh, this would be 10 times better. Oh, this would be 10 times better. I'm a consumer. I'm not a developer. I don't have like the exact things. Like when you hear a piano song, do you go, oh, that's shit? And does like do you think you can do better? No. You think, oh, that just doesn't sound good. I, as a consumer, I get to have an opinion on what I play or consume. I get to have an opinion on what I consume, and my opinion is this is dumb as fuck. So obviously, a lot of you soul fuckers, you're dark soul fuckheads, gonna be like, "Oh, you're just so bad. I beat the game faster than you did." First of all, so like, it's not a problem of skill. I beat the game faster than a lot of people. I beat the game in like 3 days. 3 days? I beat the game in like 3 days, sectioned off, like with ample amount of time. Like I explored the entire map. Well, not the entire map. I explored like I'd say 80% of the map and beat the game in like 3 4 days. Like a total of like 20 hours. I beat the entire like DLC, save a few caves and stuff like that. But like I'm pretty sure I killed every remembrance boss. Yeah, so like it's not that the game was too hard. It's just that the game was tedious. Like it felt like 80 70% of the game was just me going, oh, Tree fragment. Did I get this one? Nope. All right, cool. Got this one though. Check, check, check. And that's not fun. That just feels monotonous and tedious. So again, this is what I think would have been better. Gate gate keep them with bosses. How about that? Right? So if you beat a boss, you get one Tree blessing, right? Maybe you can do this. So so right off the bat, you touch Mikola's fucking hand, and all of a sudden you're transported to Tree, which doesn't make sense because he is supposed to be the Tree person, but for some reason we're in the Tree. I don't know. Maybe there's a lore reason. I don't think there is. I think that's weird. Anyways, we're continuing. So you get so like let's say you pop in anyways, go to the Tree. First thing first you get the grace, and then and then like you talk to Lita, and she's like, "Oh, here, this will help you progress, or this will help you," and she gives you a Tree blessing, and then she explains what it does, and she's like, "By the way, these Tree blessings are vital to any foreigner of these lands. What they do is they allow you to grow accustomed to this land's like fucking air or something, so you can take and deal damage, right? And so now you know, oh, I have to get these scatter trees. And then you're like, oh, how do I get them? And then you talk, and then like Lita mentions them. Oh, so the scatter trees, they are held by like I don't know what you would call the bosses in game lore, right? But like she will just tell you, oh, they're held by the bosses essentially, and to get them, you must defeat the bosses. So now you have a goal, right? So now the game becomes clear. Oh, I know what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to go and kill the bosses so that I can become stronger, so that I can kill more bosses. Because Dark Souls, or Elden Ring, anyways, in my opinion, game like these types of games are fun because you get to fight these giant bosses, or just like not giant, just bosses in general, right? You're able to fight these bosses, and you have a good time fighting them, and yeah, that's a bit. You fight them, and then you get a blessing, and you're like, "Woo, that's fun! Now I'm stronger. I can fight the next boss," and it's still you're on level, right? Like you're on level against the boss, against the next boss, because that's the main thing why they're scattered through fragments or blessings in general was because From Software wanted it so that everyone could be like on level. You weren't under leveled, you weren't over leveled, you were on level. That's the point of the scatter tree fragments. And that is why, in my opinion, scatter tree fragments are kind of stupid. Because, like, they're made for you to be on level, but if you don't go out of your way to get them, you're gonna be always under leveled at that point. Because you're just like, if you're just like, oh, I want to fight this boss, you get one shot. Oh, well, that wasn't fun. How do I not get one shot? Oh, scatter tree fragments? Alright, let me get the scatter tree fragments. And that takes a long and tedious amount of time because you have to then go figure out which ones you've already got and which ones you haven't got. I don't know, again, it's just scatter tree fragments ruined the DLC for me. It made me go, oh, this is fun the first time I play it. Never again. We're done. Nope, no more. That's it. Thank you. Goodbye. That's it. In my opinion, that's all I wanted for the game. I'm done with the game, or done with the DLC for the foreseeable future, because I just don't want to collect Scatter Tree fragments again. So that's why, in my opinion, Elden Ring gets a 6.7. Is, let me reiterate my points again. Um, the map very big, super beautiful. That's cool. There's a lot of weapons. That's cool. New NPCs. That's cool. New bosses that are fun. Bad parts. Map is too big for what it has. It doesn't have enough content for the size it has. That's bad. The weapons are, a lot of them are like really one note for like mainly Dex bleed people or just Dex people in general. Didn't really feel like I had much of weaponry. It just like there was a lot of weapons, but I feel like 80% of them were shit, right? And that's not cool. I want like all the weapons to be knight equal in strength, but it felt like a lot of the DLC weapons were kind of lackluster. Or like a lot of them were just like, "Oh, you remember that weapon from the base game?" And you're like, "Yeah." Well, here's that weapon but better. And it's like, "Oh, okay. I guess that's cool." But like what's the point of like using the base weapon then? Like there is no point. It's worse. And like, "Oh, okay. That's cool." And you're like, "Yep, see ya." So like if you don't get the DLC, you're just constantly weaker than the people that got the DLC. Kind of sucks, but it really does suck. Anyways, the bosses, a lot of them just felt unfun to fight against because they had unfair stuff, not fun at all. So yeah, obviously that's a problem in my opinion. It just felt like they had some sort of way to just like take away your fun. And then the worst offense of it all, scatter tree fragments. Again, scatter tree fragments, in my opinion, were the worst decision they have done for the DLC. If it weren't for that, the game would be like easily go 8, 9, 10 around that area. It didn't, but there are scatter trees, so yeah. Again, this is my opinion. You want to attack me in the comments? Go ahead. I don't care. That just drives engagement. Like, if you want to argue with me about like why you think the game is good, go ahead and argue. I will defend my points. Or if you
Yo!
convince me,
Yes!
I
Yeah!
will agree with you.
Oh!
Hey, maybe I was
God
wrong
is
on
gone!
Anyways, that's about it. I'll see you guys later. Bye.